All right, let's look at the study guide for the geometry test. All right, number 1, which is the closest to the measure of angle WXY? WXY. This angle, is it acute, right, or obtuse? What is it, Clint? It's obtuse. That means it's greater than 90 degrees. So I'm going to look up here and see what the answer is. And there's 2 different measurements that it goes through. If I use these numbers down here, it's 45. But this is not an acute angle, so that's not the one I use. Here it's between 130 and 140. So your answer is what? 135. C is your answer. Lots of people picked 145, and 145 would be right there. But we're between 130 and 140. That's 135. Questions on that one? I don't think you have any like that on the test because that's not really a 7th grade problem. That's a little bit too easy. All right. 2. Pablo has a large circular rug on his square-shaped bedroom floor. So this is the circle that we're talking about right here. If the diameter of this rug is equal to the length of the bedroom floor, which is closest to the area of the rug? So, if this floor is 12, what's the diameter? 12. The diameter is 12. And so, we need to find the area. I should see on your paper, area equals, what's the formula? Pi times radius squared. I should always see that you're starting with a formula. Always starting with a formula. All right. So we're trying to find area. Area equals 3.14. What is the radius? If the diameter is 12, what's the radius? So times 6 squared. And then you use your calculator. 3.14 times 6 squared, 113 and 400 feet squared. Or they wrote square feet, which is the same thing. And so it says which one is the closest, so your answer would be C. What do you think the most commonly missed incorrect answer was? D. Why do you think it was D? So do you think you would go from this to that? No, the people that missed it and chose D, why did you choose D? Because you said 12 times 12 and you got 144. And so that would have been finding the area of the square. So I'm not sure if you didn't read correctly, if you didn't use your formula. I'm not sure what the problem was. But make sure that you're reading correctly. All right. A rectangle and a parallelogram have the same area. The rectangle, the parallelogram, and some of their dimensions are shown. Based on the dimensions shown, what is the value of x? So, I'm going to start here. What is the area of the parallelogram? Anybody find that? Jesse. How'd you get that? 14 times 9. 14 times 9. And we got 126 feet squared. So the area of this is 126 feet squared. So what would the area of this one be? Because it said they are the same. Okay. How did Jesse know to use the 9 and not the 10 for the height? Yeah, the 10 is just the length of a side. You wouldn't go to the doctor and if they want to see how tall you are, you don't lean over and let them measure your side, right? It's from the floor straight up to the tippy top part of your head. That's how you find the height. That's how you know it's 9. All right, so now I know that the area of this is base times height. So I can use substitution now to find the area of that. So what is the area? It's 126 equals, I don't know the base, times the height of 12. How do I solve that now? Divide by 12, divide by 12. And that leaves me with x equals 126 divided by 12, and you get 10 and 5. The answer is B. Do you know which one most people picked? A. I don't know how you picked A. But if you had picked A, you could have said, what is 7.5 times 12? 7.5 times 12, 90. But you need 126. What else could you have done? You could have just kept going down the list. 10.5 times 12, and you would have gotten that. 11.7 times 12, and you would have gotten a different number. So the whole key was finding out the area of this one first, and then there's more than one way to get there. All right. Number 4, in which diagram do angle 1 and angle 2 appear to be vertical angles? What does vertical mean? Straight across. And vertical angles are also, how can they be across from each other and neighbors? What's important to know about vertical angles? They are congruent, which means they are the same shape and same size. Okay. A, what are these? Are they vertical? They're across from each other? They're not. They are adjacent. They're next door neighbors. They're also what? A right angle, which makes them complementary. So it's not A. B, tell me about 1 and 2 and B. They are adjacent. They are supplementary. They are a linear pair. That's not it. C, these are vertical. C. They are exactly the same size. When you look at them, they would be exactly the same shape and same size, and they are across from each other. Tell me about D. They're not vertical, agreed. What else? They are adjacent. They are a linear pair, and they are supplementary. You should be able to pick that out. So the only one that was vertical was C. Number 5. In this figure, 2 rays intersect line AD. So they intersect right here at point X. The measure of angle AXB is 32. This figure is not necessarily drawn to scale, which means if I'm looking there, that's not necessarily a 90-degree angle, although it looks like it. What is the measure of angle BXD? This right here. What's the measure of that right there? So if I'm going from here all the way around, that has to equal how many degrees? That has to equal 180. But I need to take this off, subtract. So your answer is 148 degrees. The most commonly picked answer for incorrect was 122 degrees. I don't know how they got it because they didn't show me work. Lots of people picked 122. I don't know if that just sounds like a good number. When you're a math teacher and you don't see any work and you just see missed answer, missed answer, missed answer, and no work on the paper, what's your suspicion if you're that math teacher? You just guess. You just circled. Oh, that looks good. She won't care. She won't know I didn't do the math. But what am I looking for? I'm looking for the work. So I'm not sure how you think you can get credit when your answers are wrong and you don't show any work. And I'm not sure how I'm supposed to help you when I can't see why you picked 122 degrees. I'm not even sure how you'd get 122 degrees. Like some wrong answers I can go, okay, they did this. Like this one over here. I know how you got 144. I can figure that one out. This one, I can't figure out how you got 122. So I don't know the mistake you made. 180 minus, well, yeah, but where would the 64 come from? No clue. Exactly. So I don't know how to help you. What is it? So like maybe these were vertical angles, but are those vertical angles? No. No, they're not vertical angles. Okay. All right. Number 6. What is the area in square inches of this quadrilateral? Now, this one's a little bit difficult to see because I want to think about it as a parallelogram. But can I think about it as a parallelogram? Is there a base and a height? No, I can't really think about it like that. Mallory, how do you think about it?
I put them in their own like little groups.
Uh-huh.
Did 10 times 8, but I did like half.
Okay, so let's put some actual vocabulary words with that. You broke them into their own, not group, but you made a triangle. And then you did the formula, which is 1/2 base times height. And so 1/2 of the base is 10, and the height is 8. And 10 times 8 is 80, and half of that is 40. 40 inches squared. And so they all have the same base and height, base and height, base and height. And there's 4 of them. So this one is 40, this one is 40, this one is 40, and this one is 40. And so 40 times 4 triangles is 160 inches squared. So your answer is G. Questions on that one? No. So you just had to be able to decompose that into their own shape. So that's like a composite figure. But I think that they tried to get you by going, hey, this is a quadrilateral, trying to make you think it's just one shape. What does quadrilateral mean? Quad means 4, lateral means lats, like your lats. You're going to go work out your lats, your sides. You've never heard of your lats? Oh, come on, people. All right, so lateral means side. So it's just a 4-sided shape. Doesn't mean anything. Okay. All right, 7. Chelsea wants to cover a rectangular prism-shaped box with paper, which is the closest to the minimum amount of paper that Chelsea needs. So if we're talking about covering the outside, what are we trying to find? Surface area. So how do we do that? We find the area of each side, and then what do? Add. So how many sides does this one have? All right. Let's start right here at this forward facing. So what do we get? 4 times this one right here? Right here? Where do you see the 3 from? 4 and 6. Okay. 4 times 6, and you get 24. So then that would make the back 4 times 6. And you also get 24. Now where? Left side, right side, bottom. So the bottom. The bottom and the top will be 6 times 3. 6 times 3, and you get 18. 6 times 3, and you get 18. Now what?
4 times 3.
So let's do this side over here. 4 times, this height is the same as this, so 4 times 3. Different order doesn't matter, right? When you add all those up, what do you get? 108 centimeters squared. Now be careful that you don't say 108. Do you see the difference when you say it? This is 108. This is 108. Be careful the way you say it. I know I'm picky. All right. Questions about number 7? No? Okay. 8. In the circle shown, point T is the center of the circle. Point R is on the circle. So what are we seeing right here? What is this called? That's the radius. We see the radius. Which is closest to the circumference? So circumference, we have 2 formulas. Circumference equals pi times the diameter, or circumference equals 2 pi r, which these are the same things, right? 2 times the radius is the diameter. So let's use this formula since they give us the radius. Circumference equals 2 times 3.14 times the radius, and the radius is 5.5. And when you multiply that, what do you get? 34 and 54 centimeters. So your answer is D. Your answer is D. So what did you make your diameter? 11. Because 5.5 times 2 is 11. Okay? All right. We're getting there. 9. If a wheel of cheese were cut as shown, what would the cross-section look like? Which one would be the cross-section? B, yes. You'd have a straight line here, a straight line here, a straight line down there, and a straight line there. B is your answer. Okay? All right. What is the area of the triangle shown? The answer that I saw the most was D. Do you all agree that it's D?
No.
Why do you think people got D?
They didn't do a half.
They didn't multiply it by half. So area equals 1/2 base times height. So the area equals 1/2 of 8 times 12. So area equals 1/2 of 96, and half of 96 is 48 centimeters squared. So C. Did you divide it by 2?
No, I did 1/2 times 8 times. Oh, I did 5.
Okay. All right. Questions. I could have said what's half of 8, and I could have gotten 4, and then 4 times 12 is 48. I could have said what's half of 12 and gotten 6, and 6 times 8 is 48. Or I could have taken this and divided it by 2. Lots of different ways you can get there. All right. 11. Bob wants to paint a rectangular wall that measures 16 feet by 9 feet. So here's the wall, this whole dark part. The wall contains a window with the dimensions shown. Am I going to paint over that window? Don't you want to still be able to see out of it? Yeah, you do. So if Bob does not paint the window, what is the total shaded area that he will paint? Somebody tell me how you got this answer. What do you think, Jesse? 9 times 16 to find the area of the whole thing. So the wall is 9 times 16, and we get 144 feet squared. Okay, now we know the whole thing. Now what? The whatever of the middle one. What's the whatever?
The glass part.
No.
It's the outer area.
No, listen. He says you find the whatever of the middle. What's the whatever? The area. So the window, and we need to find the area. And so that is what? 8 times 5, and we get 40. All right, Jesse, keep going. Subtract 144. So if we were to paint all of it, but we have to take that part off, so we subtract the 40, and you get 104 feet squared. Now, what made this problem easy? Anybody in IXL? Have you had problems like these? Those IXL, if you've gotten that far. If you haven't, then you're not where you're supposed to be. But if you've gotten that far, we've had lots of problems like this, and also with circles, right? The circles are the harder ones, but you still should be able to do them. All right. List 3 different side lengths that could be combined. Oh, make sure you have words here. He will paint 104 feet squared. Word problems need to have words in the answers. Don't let me forget that. Okay. Don't forget that. Ever. Ever, ever. All right. List 3 different side lengths that could be combined with side lengths of 5 and 10 to create a triangle. So what do we know about a triangle on the sides? Some of them are equilateral, they are. So if this is 5 and this is 10, what do I know about, what's the rule? When I add it to the other short side, it has to be bigger than the third side, right? Because otherwise, remember when we did the straw experiment, if they're too short, they're not going to meet, and if they're too long, if they're too long, they'll meet way up here. So the longer they are, the steeper the pitch you're going to have. So I did mine like this, and I said, so side 1, 2, and 3. So if this one's 5, I need to know what this one is so that it's bigger than 10. 5, what's this one, so it's bigger than 10. 5, what's this one, so it's bigger than 10. So, could side 2 be a 5? 5 plus 5, is that bigger than 10? No, that won't work. 5 plus 6? Yes. What else? 5 plus 7? 5 plus 8. All of those worked. So, I could say they could be 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters, and 8 centimeters. You could have 9, you could have 10. I would not get crazy and then do a 100, because then would 5 plus 10 be greater than 100? So you still have to make sure that they're going to work. Okay, so don't pick one that's really big, because then, like if this was 20, if you wanted to say, well, that could be a 20, well, then 5 plus 10 would be 15. That wouldn't be bigger than 20. So I would just kind of start small and then go from there. So list a side length that could not be combined with 5 and 10. So we said one of them was 5. We also just said 20, 15, or 20, or 2 could not be used. But you only had to list one. It just said list a side length. So you just had to list one. All right, 13. A rose garden is in the shape of a circle with a circumference of 31 feet. So it's a circle. The circumference, or the distance around, is 31 feet. To the nearest foot, what is the diameter of the garden? So I would expect to see you with circumference equals pi times the diameter. So if you're talking about circumference and we're talking about diameter, this would be the one that I would use. So if it tells us the circumference, that means we're substituting here where the C is. 31 equals 3.14 times the diameter. Everybody see how I got this? Because they gave us the circumference and we know pi, so what's missing is the diameter. So now divide by 3.14, divide by 3.14, and you find out that the diameter equals what was it, 31 divided by 3.14, and you get, now it says to the nearest foot. What is the nearest foot? So it would be 10. This is closer to 10. This 8 would tell that to go up. So 9 point, I'm going to estimate there, and so I would say the diameter is approximately 10 feet. Make sure that you don't put that it's exactly, or you could have said to the nearest foot, the diameter is 10 feet. Yes? So you can just kind of picture, use some mental math. Yeah, that works too. All right, 14. What is the volume of the rectangular prism? What's formula for volume? Volume equals area of the base times the height. Remember, if you use your formula sheet, it's area of the base times the height. So how do we find the area of the base? We say 4 times 3 times the height of 14. So 12 times 14, and 12 times 14 is 168. Now, I saw that a lot of you just used that 4 times 3 times 14 that we learned last year. Why do we need to think about the area of the base in 7th grade? Yes, because sometimes our base is going to be a triangle, right, this year. So when you look on your formula sheet on Georgia Milestones, it's going to say the area of the base times the height. So you always find the area of the top or bottom and then multiply it by the height of the rectangle. All right, constructed response. A rectangular prism has a volume of 120 centimeters cubed. Its length, width, and height are whole numbers. What are possible dimensions? So the 7th grade teachers and I, in our data team meeting, when we were going through this, we were like, that's not a good test question, but I'll talk to you about it. So 3 numbers that I can multiply together to get 120. Well, mental math tells me that 10 times 12 is 120. So then I can break one of these apart into factors. So I could say 2 times 5 times 12. Or I could say 10 times 2 times 6. Or I could say 10 times 3 times 4. Or I could say 2 times 5 times, oh, I already did that, 2 times 5 times 12. I did that one. 5 times 6 times 4. Lots of different ways you could do it. But you just had to start, to me it was easier if I broke it down into 2 pieces, and then I started thinking about breaking one of those up. All right, and then it says which possibility gives the smallest surface area. So then if you were to solve this problem, you would have to find surface areas for your examples you provided and show which one has the smallest surface area. We're not going to require you to do that unless they've made a change I don't know about, but I don't think they have. Okay. All right, any questions on the study guide? Get it signed, and if you want extra credit, they're all due back tomorrow.